Welcome to Algarve in the rain. Probably one of the most stressful races I've had ever in sim racing, and that's not due to other drivers or other factors. That is down to solely the track being wet. It is so sketchy. You have to be so precise on the throttle inputs, the steering inputs, as well as the braking. Although I definitely say the throttle is the most important. Porsche just casually pushes the BMW off the track like nothing happened. Fair enough. See you later. That is a position gain. Now, we did start off the race in, I think, position 11. We're now all the way up to position 8. You can see on the dashboard, the traction control lights blinking away, trying to find the grip, trying to get that power down, and more than happy for traction control really to step in here, because making sure that we don't spin in the tires is so crucial. Braking now into this corner, have a BMW up the inside. Gonna let them take that position. It's not worth the fight this early on in the race, especially considering we've already gained a few places. Track limits are evaluating at the moment, but the steward says no harm, no foul. That is probably one of the worst areas to go off the track, because the stewards are not very lenient. They will penalize you just for going off the track to avoid a crash. So bear that one in mind. Coming down here now, we're right up behind the BMW, who is now also right up behind the Porsche. Let them apply the pressure on the other vehicles while we sit back, watch, and let's hope it all unfolds into our favor. Coming into this race, to be honest, the weather started off in the qualifying session quite sunny, although the track was wet, and it was kind of hard to justify going on to wet tires because the track wasn't all that wet. But following the herd, I decided to go into wet tires as well. Set a qualifying time, wasn't all that good, and out the other side we came. Now, being in this race, wet tires was the obvious choice to make, considering how much rain is coming down on this track at the moment. There is so much spray coming from the cars, and thankfully the spray isn't blinding our vision. You know, that could have been a lot worse. And not only that, cars behind are being 2.5 seconds away. Ooh, that was a bit sketchy from the Porsche, which does relieve a lot of pressure from ourselves. Now, gonna kind of look for a position here, but ultimately back out. The decision here is not to battle. We're only a lap 2 of 12. Plenty of time for people to make mistakes, and plenty of time to try again and battle probably somewhere more convenient. Overtaking there, coming down to that first corner, is not ideal. It's all right in the dry, but in the wet, if that Porsche clips us, we are going off gardening. Well, there was no need to think about what was going on with that Porsche, because they decided to keep turning left in a straight line, thus giving us the position. Now, we have a wolf pack of cars up ahead. We are a little bit of time away, no rush. Going off the track here, going to collect a penalty for going out very wide. Kind of fair enough and justified, although I think it could have been a less points. I don't actually think it matters all that much. Ooh. A bit of an accident there. See, this is what I mean. Now we've gone off track to avoid a collision. The stewards said you get a 0.25 point warning for avoiding that crash. Flash, you should have crashed into those cars and joined the party. Yeah, that's what the stewards are saying here. Can't complain. It's a computer system trying to compute human behavior. It's not intelligent enough for that. So, you know, going off track is just going off track to a computer. And then BMW keeps turning left, surrendering us another position. You never guess what? We're up to position 4. How insane is that? End of lap 3. So coming up to the start of lap 4, we have gained so much positions. We're now in P4. Just need to hunt down that Mercedes up ahead. Then we'll have podium position. Herrero, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, in a Mercedes. Now the Mercedes is a understeering mayhem car, but it is very stable. So credit where credit's due to that Mercedes. But we got to also make sure that we keep this Ferrari stable, and it does like to twitch out every so often. Now coming to the end of lap 5 to the start of lap 6, we have actually gained a little bit of time on the Mercedes. Not too far ahead, and our time delta is quicker than theirs. So we are closing the door slightly. See a little bit of a mistake there. The pressure is on. All we need to do is keep applying pressure, and hopefully they will make a mistake. If not, we should be able to overtake them coming into turn 1 and 2, because that's where we do seem to be faster than the Mercedes overall. Just need to make sure that we nail it past them over the start and finish line. And this corner here can be quite sketchy, but the Ferrari does seem to handle it exceptionally well, and you get an absolute insane run out. So you know what? We're going to move over to the right side and absolutely stick our nose in. But we're not going to commit. We're going to back out. Kind of confuse Mercedes driver. I don't want to go too wide into there. Look how tight we are being pushed. If we carried our full momentum through, we may have destroyed the Mercedes. And then you kind of look like the, you know, not the pleasant word for that Mercedes driver. Although, that was a bit sketchy. It wasn't or wouldn't have been our fault. You know, we're kind of both going through that section there. But all things work in our favor eventually. By the lap 7, we're right up behind the Mercedes. Mercedes keeps turning right in a straight line. Very easy to make a mistake on that corner there. When you're trying to get the power down and the traction control just isn't enough for it, it becomes a little bit dicey. So now it's more of a case of holding on for dear life. We have to keep momentum to keep the Mercedes away behind us and keep any else at bay as well. It's not a case of just defending. We have to make sure we keep enough momentum so the position 4 doesn't catch up, position 5 doesn't catch up. We have no chance of catching position 1. They're 12 seconds ahead in the Mustang. You know, they're long gone in a different dimension. But ourselves, look at that. The Mercedes has had a moment and crashed. So all it is now is a case of bringing it home. We have position 2, guys. Absolutely insane. And how cautious we are going through this section here. We have time to be cautious, time to burn. And that's exactly what it's all about. Building that time away, and then on the final section of this race, making sure you can bring it home with position 2 in the bag. 15 seconds away from position 1, 3.6 seconds away from position 3 behind, and Mercedes is down to position 4, 16 seconds away. Absolutely insane. But while this looks all tame and neutral, make sure you stick around for crash cam at the end, because it wasn't all sunshine and roses. It was all rain. Coming back to what I said earlier, this is the race in the Mercedes. And, well, the first mistake was definitely on me. There's no two ways about that. Trying to be cautious, give space to the cars on the left-hand side, way too much space, not wanting to have a crash, goes over the curb, bounces the car, and you see the absolute joy in my face from doing so. Yeah. Also, the engine stalled, so I have to start her up. Come on, you. You can do it. Do you know what? Surprising, we haven't actually lost that many positions. It's crazy to think about. There's a person got off behind us as well. They've crashed. And one facing the wall to left. Very easily done, that one. Especially when you come round too fast. Now we have a Lexus there. Overtake them. Breaking down to this corner a little bit late. Way too late, Flash. Way too late. And the Lexus also followed through and nearly destroyed our rear end. Crazy enough, we're now up to position 13. You know, it's from that turn 1 incident back up to P13. Can't really grumble too much, but this Mercedes is a car of finesse, a car you have to be gentle with, because if you're not gentle with this car, it will quietly stitch you up. And that's the best way of putting it. It doesn't do it loud barking moments. It does it silently. It skips its way along and goes, haha, tricked you. Gave you a false sense of security that you could do this a million times over, and now you can't. And that's the best way of describing this Mercedes, besides the amount of understeer, which can actually be alleviated by moving a lot of the brake bias to the rear. Also, I've moved the ABS setting down to number 6 because it does seem to be braking a lot better. Although I would like to add, make sure you're kind of in a straight line when you're braking, because the car would like to skip. What is going on in front of us? Ooh, that poor BMW got absolutely destroyed because the Mustang decided to turn around whilst cars were coming at him. Yeah, and make sure you stick around for crash cam for that one, because it is a lot worse than you thought. At least they held their brakes. Just saying, Mustang drivers. Mustang doing Mustang things. Anyway, the Lexus eventually does overtake us again. We're down to position 11. And then that happens. And do you know what? I'd understand if I was under power, but I wasn't. This is where I say the Mercedes will lead you into a false sense of security. because going around that corner it seemed perfectly happy, and then when you realize it wasn't happy, it was already too late. BMW had a moment. Us gaining position. We're now back up to P11. Corvette parked at the side of the road. I guess they have given up. That's given us P10. Cannot grumble too much about that. We have a BMW ahead of us. It does seem to be quite the popular car in the race, but understanding the BMW, it is a great overall car and very, very manageable. But two BMWs on the other hand, well, you know, that's just an argument or recipe for disaster. One BMW goes out heavily wide, the other one has a Mustang moment and almost loses the rear end. Thankfully, the second BMW did surrender the position and took in behind us. I was expecting they wouldn't, which is typical of most BMW drivers. I'm joking. Right, come on, Mercedes. Get yourself in order. You can do it. You can see now I've moved my ABS setting to 9 because, well, mid-corners, it was a little bit sketchy and I didn't want to have another crash. But we are side by side with the BMW to our left, ultimately backing out again because, you know, while I would give space, would another driver? I don't know. And it's not a risk I'm willing to take. You know, although we are both trusted drivers, doesn't mean I trust them. I'd like to finish this race in one piece and not absolutely destroy my safety rating. Anyway, behave, Mercedes. Getting a little bit sketchy on the way out of there, and this corner here is also very sketchy. You've got to really be mindful when putting that power down and make sure that, you know, the power you apply is not going to destroy you. And over a period of time, the BMW did start getting away and breaking away from us, but sadly, it wasn't meant to be. They applied too much power and kept turning left out of that corner, which has given us position 8. That is a lapped car, so they're not a concern. What is the concern is where they're going to rejoin. Oh, they're fine. They're on the left-hand side, staying out of the way. You know, when someone turns a GT3 car into a rally car, you do have to understand or try and guess what their intentions are. And, you know, thankfully their intentions were not malicious, but, you know, becoming a new form of an expensive lawnmower is probably not also the ideal way of taking this track. At least we finished this race in position 8. Much higher than anticipated. Let me know down in the comments below where you thought I was going to finish this race. Funnily enough, whilst my big mug is on the left hand side, you see the chat talking away there. It all kicked off in this race. Everybody's kicking off at each other, and you can see down the chat list there, not a lot of drivers were happy. So, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to head over to Crash Camp and actually see what fight broke out. But first, here's the first race we had where we finished the race in position 2. Turn 1, and the Mustang got smashed up behind. Yeah, you know, kind of clumsy, but not as clumsy as what this Porsche driver did to the BMW that we witnessed. No excuse. Just casually pushed them out of the way like nothing happened and carried on with their day. It's literally like they went shopping. Mercedes there does become a poor fool for this race, and brake testing the car behind is not the smartest thing to do. There was no reason that Mercedes broke. Lovely dive bomb from the Lexus there. Quite insane. Mercedes driver obviously not happy about said dive bomb and decides to punish the Lexus driver. Although I will argue the Lexus does have a much better sounding engine. This here, this will get you. That is not the McLaren's fault. I will tell you that now, because this is it from their point of view. They literally went up this hill and the Lord of LMU has stopped his race. It just stopped the car. And just for proof of point, here's a third view of what happened. The steward said, no, you're not going anywhere. And that's pretty brutal for both drivers, you know. Both of those cars are absolutely wrecked now. Mustang doing Mustang things. Yeah. Porsche struggling to get their power down. Yeah, the Corvette is actually a great car for this race. And I did do Uncalled For. I did do a race in it, and if you want to see that, it will be posted during the week for the channel members. Again, a lovely dive bomb from the Lexus. Oh, no, ballsed it up. and started to become a collector after that, yeah. So while it did start off absolutely insane, it didn't finish that way. Now we have two BMWs side by side. Not going to end well. At least, to be fair, this BMW driver did save it exceptionally well. So credit where credit's due on that. That is not saved very well. Go on, keep doing the donut and take the Porsche out, because the donut failed and they carried on in a straight line rather than waiting for a safe rejoin, really. Well, it's not really a rejoin. They're already on the track, but you know, you can't start taking cars with you at the same time. BMWs and Mercedes having a moment. Two German rivals. And an Lexus just joins the party and just slaps the Mercedes with their big butt. Whatever. Anyway, here goes another Mercedes driver. Well, you might as well finish him off. That's all I can say. If you're gonna go, you're gonna go. BMW and BMW keeps turning right and then back left into this car here. Although, surprisingly enough, this car was all right. Lexus having a Lexus moment, doing a 360, and the McLaren just drives through the Lexus like they never even existed. It's just a normal day, thinking that the Lexus would ghost out like Casper. This is a bit weird and messy. Who would you put your blame on there? Interesting. Yeah, not fun for the Mercedes driver, and they lose their rear wing. Kind of a really bad way to finish off a race, especially when you're position 14. Heading over to the second race, where all manners of chaos erupted in the chat. Well, you can understand why to a certain degree. What on earth was going on at Algarve? Corvette, brilliant car. Again, it was a car I chose for the first race I did here, and everything went swimmingly well until it didn't. And I would definitely say the Corvette has an incredible soundtrack to it. It really does sing, this car. Although I think the Mustang looking to make a move there is kind of opportunist. You know, well, Mustang doing Mustang things, and this is what happened. They stopped and then drove forward, destroying that BMW. Here's that Mustang again. They are on the left-hand side of the track, going over to the right because they want to go to the pits. Why not stay to the right of the track? Nope, it's perfectly... That behavior is perfectly normal, Flash. Take a breath. Okay, Corvette, up the inside of the BMW. The BMW and the Corvette have now become a tandem. Tandem and drifting. And the Corvette has now become an expensive lawnmower. Yeah, kind of messy, and space should have been awarded. Not too sure what's going on in this McLaren's mind, but clearly paying attention to the track really was not on their top priority. In saying how those two races were so different to each other, really goes to show how sometimes patience really is the key.